Hello, welcome to Bob's Dungeon. My name's Bob, I'll be your host. Have you ever had a paranormal encounter? An encounter with the supernatural? Most of us have, or at least believe we have. And there are lots of games that use the supernatural as a theme, which is pretty cool. There's lots of games out there, lots of games for hunting the paranormal and the supernatural. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video. We're going to talk about a game called Beyond the Supernatural. This book has 256 pages and a copyright of 1993. This is the 5th publishing of this book, and it was published by Palladium Games. All of the artwork in this book is in black and white, and it's pretty good. So let's go ahead and look at that artwork. All of the artwork in this book is in black and white. And it's all pretty decent to look at as well. And it does a good job of showcasing the horror in this game, as well as maintaining a really good creep factor. It even gives you a look at the downright weird in this book as well. All in all, it sets a proper tone and mood for this game. They even have a picture of that creepy thing that lives under my bed as well. To play this game, what you're going to need is, of course, a copy of this core rulebook and a full set of dice. Full set of dice containing a 20-sided die, a 12-sided die, preferably two 10-sided dice for rolling both percentiles and tens, an 8-sided die, a 6-sided die, and a 4-sided die. This book uses the Palladium rules, so anyone that's familiar with Palladium will know how to play this game. Character generation is pretty simple. Takes a little while to put a character together, but there's a reason for that, and we'll get into that. But first of all, you must figure out your character's attributes. And your character's attributes are your intelligence quotient, your mental endurance, your mental affinity, your physical strength, physical prowess, physical endurance, physical beauty, and speed. And the way you determine these attributes is rolling 3 6-sided dice and adding them together and going right down the line for each attribute. And this will give you a total of 3 to 18 for each of them, kind of like in the D20 system. However, on any of the attribute rolls that you make, if you score a 16, a 17, or an 18, you get to roll a 4th 6-sided die and add that to your total, giving you a potential total of anywhere from 3 to 24 on your attributes, which is pretty cool. After you determine your attributes, you'll figure up your hit points. And the hit points in this game, every one of the classes have the same number of hit points, have the same kind of hit points. And the way you determine them is you take your physical endurance and add a 1d6 to it. Every time you gain a level, you get to add one more d6 to your roll, right, to your hit points. And that's pretty cool. It's kind of standard across the board. Then you also have SDC in this game. SDC stands for Structural Damage Capacity. And this is a lot of extra damage that your character can take. And it represents your cuts and abrasions, bruises, and so forth. Whereas your hit points represents real damage to you, such as internal bleeding, punctured organs, broken bones, and so forth. And the way you determine your SDC is all characters with a physical background, such as police officers, army, athletes, and so forth, will get a 3d6 for their base SDC, and all other characters, such as scholars, drive-through workers, mechanics, whatever, will only get 2d6 for their starting SDC. SDC can be modified with certain skills that'll add directly to your SDC, and SDC does not go up as you gain levels. Of course, it does replenish up to your maximum with rest and so forth, kind of like healing damage. After that, you'll want to pick what's called a PCC, a Psychic Character Class. Now, in regular Palladium games, they call them OCCs, which is Occupational Character Class. But for Beyond the Supernatural, they call them Psychic Character Classes. And the classes in this game are the Latent Psychic, the Physical Psychic, the Psychic Sensitive, the Psi-Mechanic, the Healer, the Nega-Psychic, the Genius or Natural, the Parapsychologist, the Arcanist or Mage, and you also have an optional class of an Ordinary Person. And that's pretty cool. It's a lot of different classes you can choose from in this game. And then you'll figure up your skills and education. There are charts in here to figure out what your education is and what skills you get. And all characters, regardless of class, will roll on that, except for the Psychologist and the Mage/Anarchist. All of those two, their skills and education is determined by their class. So that's pretty cool. Then you'll roll for what money you have and what equipment you start with. After that, you'll pick an alignment. There are 3 sets of alignments in this game. There is good alignments, selfish alignments, and evil alignments. The good alignments are the principled and the scrupulous. The selfish alignments, which would replace neutral, because with Palladium there is no neutral alignments. But with this, with the selfish alignment, you'll get the Anarchist and the Unprincipled. For the evil alignments, you'll get Miscreant, Aberrant, and the Diabolic. And those are your alignments. After you get your alignments figured up, you'll want to figure out your PPE, which is Potential Psychic Energy. And each class in this game has a different amount of dice that it'll roll to figure out your starting PPE. And what that's used for is different supernatural creatures will drink that from your character. You also will use it for different magic rituals and stuff. And you can steal other people's PPE by sacrificing them. Yay! Anyway, you also have, for some of your psychic classes, ISP, which is Inner Strength Points. And Inner Strength Points are spent to use your psychic powers, which is pretty neat. The rules in this game are standard for Palladium games, in which when you try to make a skill check, you roll a percentile, and each of your skills will have a percentage beside them. These percentages will go up as you gain levels, but they cap out at 98 because there's always room for error. But when you roll to perform those skills, you'll roll your percentile die, and you must score equal to or less than whatever percentage you have in that skill. If you do this, you succeed. If you roll over that, you fail. Now, when you make an attack in this game, you roll a 20-sided die. If you roll a 1, 2, 3, or 4 on that 20-sided die, you miss. If you roll a 5 or better, you hit. Now, you will get bonuses for different things, or negatives, depending on the situation, and those will factor in. But a 5 or better on the 20-sided die in order to hit. Now, this can be altered by wearing armor. Each set of armor has its own AC and a number of SDC. And we'll use an example of 12. If your armor has 12 for its AC, then the attacking character must roll a 12 or better in order to hit you. Now, they still hit if they roll a 5 to 11, but they hit the armor and all the damage is done to the armor's SDC. If they score 12 or better, then they manage to bypass the armor and hit you. Now, once all of the armor's SDC is gone, the armor is rendered useless, and every attack roll made a 5 or better does damage to the character. So that's pretty simple. The thing that takes the longest when making your character is figuring up all the percentages for your skills. And that takes a little bit of time, but it's well worth it, I think. And that's pretty much it for character creation and the rules for the game. This game has all kinds of neat stuff in it. Other than the classes, it has a lot of rules for magic and psychic abilities. So if you wish to add that to, say, your Rifts game, you're well covered beyond what Rifts gives you. It's also got a pretty good list of monsters that you can use in your game, such as vampires, gargoyles, and cosmic horrors, which is always fun. Definitely takes on a Lovecraftian feel to it. And the very back of the book, it's got an equipment chart, which gives you all kinds of weapons and armor and stuff you can use in your game. It also has some pre-made adventures that you can use to get started. It's even got a character sheet that you can photocopy and use in the back, which is always handy. And that's pretty much it for Beyond the Supernatural. Which brings me to 3 questions. Would I play a character in this game? And I'm going to have to say yes. Like I said previously, I like horror, so this would be an ideal game for me. Would I run this game? Absolutely. I've ran it a few times, but I find it a little hard for me to find players to play this horror game, even though I like it. A lot of the players I play with aren't really big Palladium fans. Would I recommend this book? And I'm going to have to say yes. Beyond the Supernatural is a really good game, and it's got a lot for you if you want horror, and you can even add it into your other Palladium games, which is always a bonus. And that's pretty much all I got to say for Beyond the Supernatural right now. Thank you for joining me at a look at this game, and hopefully you'll join me next time where we'll talk about something else. Bye.